Well, it's 2 o'clock. You're not even patient at this point. We'll get going here. Excellent. Well, we're here for another live session, Power Lunch. We do these every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We appreciate you guys coming. Of course, you can access the replay of this session probably tomorrow morning and then forever after that. And that will be true of all the sessions that we do on Wednesday. And today we have a special guest. His name is Kevin Kaufman. I know him as a coach, as a team leader, as a podcast host extraordinaire. He's successfully recruited 500 plus agents to one of the most successful teams in the country. And we brought him in specifically to teach that playbook. And he'll be on the docket over the course of the next year as well. But this is the first time we've gotten a chance to have him. And we really appreciate him sharing his time, his knowledge. And with that, I'm going to shut up and let him take over. He's going to share his number one recruiting strategy that he used to build that successful team. So is that
Awesome.
Is that it? Does that cover it for you, Kevin?
Levi, if I could just take you with me everywhere and like have you introduce me, like, dude, that would be awesome. I appreciate it. You made me sound significantly cooler than I really am. So if you guys weren't impressed by that, sorry, it only goes downhill from here. But seriously, Levi, big opportunity for me personally, just to be able to spend some time with you and Chris. I normally get to spend time on the computer with Chris. And so glad to finally find out there really is a Levi Jones, and he hasn't just been lying to me about this all the years.
It's an alter ego.
Right? That's what I was starting to wonder that. But, I'm sure you've heard me say this before, Levi, if not, Chris is related. Like, one of the things I love about what you guys do is you guys always come from a place of giving to the real estate agent community. And that just means so much to me. And that's why we've been able to I think work together so much through my Facebook group, Next Level Agents, and through your community with Pipeline Pro Tools and Guerrilla Realty. Like we've just done a lot of webinars and whatnot together, and I think this is the first time I've been able to kind of flip the tables where I was the one talking and presenting. So I'm excited for that. So number one, thank you for having me. I love the community that you guys have built and the way that you and Chris, and I'm assuming probably everybody else in your company, just works to give back to the real estate agent. That means so much to me because at the end of the day, while I behave differently than most real estate agents, I am a real estate agent. I'm also an investor. I like, the thing about real estate for me, why it's so special is because it taught me about business. And one of the early things I learned in real estate is if you can learn to run a good real estate team, you can you've learned to run a good business, and that's important to me. So all that to say, I'm 2008, go back to February of 2008, my now business partner Fred Weaver and I started working together. At the time, I'd been licensed less than a year. In fact, next month in May, at the end of May, or maybe it's the beginning of June, will be my 15th anniversary in real estate. So 14 of those 15 years, I've had a business partner in our real estate team called the Group 4610 Network, which is just a long name for a team because neither one of us wanted our personal names in the business name. So we sell real estate here in the Phoenix area as home base. We also have expansion teams. We've been selling real estate actively in Denver, Colorado since September of 2014. So was that 7.5 years or so? Been in Nashville for about 6.5, almost 7 years now as well. And been in San Luis Obispo for going on, it'll be 5 years here in the next couple of months. So we don't just sell real estate here in Phoenix, but we've sold real estate around the country. And we've had our team has been different sizes and we've changed our models many times over the year. And at the end of the day, recruiting always comes into play here. We've had as many as more than 100 people on our team. Our team model is that of like we look like a brokerage. We just happen to be a team. So Group 4610 is the name of the real estate team. Right now, we're probably closer to 20 agents or so. We've really trimmed that down from our heights, and which I'll go into why, because recruiting is actually a big part of this. And we focus mostly here in Phoenix, but again, like I said, still sell real estate in those different cities and states. We, on average, sell about 300 homes a year and have for quite some time, have sold as many as 550 homes. And at the end of the day, we just love real estate, and all of our business dealings are in and around real estate. You mentioned a podcast. I have a podcast with real estate agents, mostly real estate agents, because I like to learn how people do things differently. I like to find out what makes successful people tick. I like to learn their thought process, even if it's things I'm not going to do. One of the things I love about real estate is there's a lot of different ways to be successful in this industry, and you get to pick which way. And I think too many people pick the way that everybody else in their brokerage does it rather than picking what's best for them. And so that's really important to me. And that's kind of like the basis of why I even have a podcast, or why I started the Facebook group Next Level Agents, which is how Chris and I originally met. And so I'm excited. I've owned a brokerage in the past. I owned a Keller Williams franchise for a number of years. I bought it 2013. Was struggling. Like, there was less than 50 people alive on the roster. And when I sold, about 2.5 years later, we had well over 300 people and were thriving. I sold at a time to go focus on my real estate sales business and a few other things that my business partner Fred and I have had our hands in. Amongst those was moving to EXP a couple years later, where recruiting is a big part of our business there as well, in addition to our real estate sales team. And the number one thing I want to start out with saying here is, when I talk about recruiting, first of all, it's not a dirty word. I think people think that recruiting is a dirty word, and the reality is it's not. Recruiting, in my viewpoint, first of all, it's just sales. My very first mentor in real estate, which was Gary Keller, taught me at an early age that, like, you should always be recruiting. I'll never forget it. He said it to me in 2009. I hadn't even been licensed 2 years yet. He said, you should always be recruiting. You should be recruiting buyers. You should be recruiting sellers, agents to join your team, administrative staff to join your team. You should be recruiting coaches for your children, sports team. Like, you're recruiting at all times. At least you should be. And so that was drilled into me at a very, very early age in my business. Right. And so for me, recruiting it's something I'm super passionate about. And I'm so glad I get the chance to share with you guys today.
Excellent. Well, and likewise, all of what you just said about us, that's one of the reasons why we love you as well, is that you come from a place of giving, and you've been gracious enough to share with our group this recruiting playbook. So I'll be here, I'll be listening, I'll be taking notes, but I'm gonna get
Awesome.
my face off the screen, so better view.
Cool. And I know, I want to make sure we're good on time. Like, I think we have, I don't know that it'll take this whole time, but I'm sure we have up to the top of the hour, since it is called Power Lunch, and we're effectively over the lunch hour.
Typically, we try to keep it around an hour, but ultimately, the floor is yours. If you want to go long, you will. As long as my dad used to always say, the mind can absorb, but the seat can endure.
I agree. I agree with your dad. Sounds like a wise man. And I'll say, I typically don't take that long. I tend to go a lot faster. We could leave some time for Q&A at the end if we have any. But I'm just gonna dive into it. So Levi he just mentioned the playbook, which you'll get with the replay. And that is something we worked on together, I don't know, a year or two ago. And it was just kind of my thought process for, hey, here's my strategy for recruiting. When I say recruiting, I've used this to grow a brokerage. Like I mentioned, I own a Keller Williams franchise for a couple of years. I've used it to grow my real estate sales team. And I've also used it to grow another franchise, or not a franchise, excuse me, another brokerage and another business model, EXP Realty. And it turns out the principles for recruiting, at least in my viewpoint, they're all the same. Like, there's some different mechanical things you can do, and there's different scripts that you might use. But at the end of the day, the underlying principles, they're the same. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jump into the strategy of how to do this. And then the other thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna jump into then being more effective by understanding the psychology side of recruiting. Hopefully that'll be okay with you guys, as I'm going to take this a few different ways. So first of all, we're going to break down my strategy into a couple different phases, like there is in the playbook, where we're going to talk about just leading with value. I think the number one thing that we can do in recruiting is to lead with value. Now, you guys probably, if you're on this lunch hour power session, you tells me you already think like a business owner. And so you probably know the real estate agent. Maybe they're in your brokerage, they're down the hall. Maybe it used to be you who thinks like, I got to make some money right now. And so they approach every single interaction with a prospective client that way. Like you've heard the term commission breath, right? Well, that's super common and in sales, but here's the deal. It's also super common in recruiting. People think, hey, I'm a recruiter now for whatever reason. Maybe they get hired as a recruiter. Maybe they join a company like eXp Realty and they understand the value in that, or they're a team leader for Keller Williams, whatever, or they just want to grow their real estate sales team. And what they start to do is start to treat it very transactional and very much like, I got to get, this is a right now thing. And here's the story that people don't tell you. Recruiting's it's a long play. It's a long-term thing. And I believe the only way to be successful over a long period of time is, so I'm talking about sustained results, is by first leading with value. And then number two, getting really smart about what I would call allied resources and how they come into play. And then the third one, which we don't even have, like this is new, Chris and Levi, we got to add this to the playbook, man. We got to update it, which is by how to get more effective at this by tapping into human psychology. Because when we take these tactics I'm going to share with you guys about leading with value, and then we talk about the resources that we have, and the resources they can be changing. Like that's the thing that'll change a lot, is like the resources. But the things that'll never change is sort of this thing of like, let's lead with value, play the long game, and then we'll have the resources that will help us generate more. I'll call them leads, for lack of a better word right now. And then we're going to get even better results than we would have by being more effective, by tapping into the psychology of the other person we're trying to recruit, or people that we're trying to recruit. Okay. So first thing I'm going to leave you with, you guys, or that I want you to take notes on today, is I want you to write these two things down. Number one, and this is the most important one, I believe. If you could just get this, you can just leave. You get the rest of your lunch hour back. But write this down. Recruiting is a process, not an event. Recruiting is a process, not an event. I'm telling you right now, if you just get that one down, you're done. You're golden. You don't have to stick around for the rest. The rest is crap compared to that. Like if you can really learn that lesson, that's it. And number two, this is something a mentor said to me. It was somebody I hired to coach me in the recruiting world years ago. And on our very first phone call, he said to me, Kevin, does everybody who you want to be in business with know that you want to be in business with them? And I don't know about you guys, but the answer for me was quite simply no. In fact, the answer is still no, probably. I still need to do a better job of that. So those are the two things I want you to write down and get started with, is recruiting is a process, not an event. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, going back to what I said a minute ago, this is the long game. Like just because someone's not ready to make a move today doesn't mean that they're not going to be ready to make a move. I had another coach tell me, people make a brokerage change or a team change, whatever you're recruiting to, for one of two reasons, mostly. Number one is, and this is number one, like it's a clear number one, their broker or team owner, team leader pissed them off. And all you have to do to get that person is be in second place. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. Like you haven't experienced it on the recruiting side, but you used to have a different preferred lender. And that different preferred lender one day just couldn't get the deals closed on time, and then wouldn't return your phone calls. And then you have this backup lender. You have this guy or this girl that was like really good about just like, hey, give me a chance. Give me your turn downs. Let me just run backup for you. And then one day they saved your butt 2 or 3 times and they became your number one lender. So just understand, like, that's the number one reason why people move brokerages or move teams. So you could just do a really good job at being in second place. The second reason why people leave, and this is why the same principles are effective for both reasons 1 and 2, is they just go, wow, look at all the value I'm getting over here. I'm actually kind of happy here at this brokerage or on team XYZ sales team. But the reality is like, Levi's just giving me so much more value. It'd be silly not to go over there. Imagine what it'd be like if I was already part of the family. Those are 2 reasons why people change brokerages. And if you could just understand that at a high level, you're golden. You will win this game in the long run. So those are the 2 reasons. So we want to tip the scales first with value. What that means is you want to give more than you take. Maybe you've heard, if you listen to Gary Vee, you've heard of his book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. jab, 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 right hook. This is why I love Chris and Levi so much, is because they do this. They're constantly giving value, whether you are a paying customer or not. They're going to give value because they understand it's something called the law of reciprocity. They understand that if they just give enough value, eventually enough people will sign up. I mean, it's literally, you could just build a business off of that. In fact, Chris and Levi have. And it's my core belief too, which is if you just give value, by the way, not with expectation of something in return, but just giving value, you can rest easy knowing it will come back to you if you're providing the right amount of value. And so we want to make sure that we're giving value. A tactic for doing that would be, say, videos. Now, I would say the time that we wrote this playbook and today, um, video usage has gone up even more. And I'll also tell you, not that many people are still doing video. Like truthfully, it might feel like a lot of other agents do video, but not that many people do when you look at the overall percentage of people who are actually doing it. So one of the best ways is just do video, record helpful tips on video, publish them to Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and Snapface and all that stuff, right? It's so simple that anybody can do it. And if you're going to recruit for the long run, I believe recruiting videos, i.e., realtor tips, how to improve your business, is the number one tactic that you can go to easily. And then tactic two, which I think tactic one leads into, which is classes, right? You can teach classes. I don't care what you're good at, what you teach. If you can teach other agents how to grow their business, then there's almost nothing more effective than that to be able to recruit. Now, the good thing is you can use video. If you put out good video content, like that alone will drive the attendance and the desire for your classes. So tactic number one is videos. Tactic number two is using classes. So let's go into video real quick. I suggest that you kind of keep a rhythm on it, like maybe say one video a week. I also suggest keeping it short, 3 minutes, 5 minutes max, but I would say 3 minutes is probably where you want to keep it, and just teach something simple. Chris has this word I love called crunchy. Keep the tip crunchy, meaning it's simple, it's easy to understand, and a person could watch your video and go out and do it. That tip could be on how to write offers that get accepted, or how a simple script used to re-engage dead leads, or a simple script for sale by owners, something like that. Something that's simple and crunchy that somebody else could actually go out and do immediately. Like they might not be great at it, but they could implement it immediately. I think that's super important. um you don't I never overshare. Like some of these things that we teach are more than one step, like recruiting, right? This could not be on one 3 minute video. I could not give a 3 or 5 minute video on how to recruit. So don't try to fit 5 or 10 tips or things into one short video. We very purposely want those videos to be short so they get watched. And then we want to be able to share those regularly. Like we want those to be on a rhythm. Like I mentioned earlier, I do podcasts. And one of the things that a friend of mine who runs one of the top podcasts in the real estate industry told me when I first started, he said, "Hey, listen, whatever you do, get on a regular cycle and then like never break from it." So he said, dude, if you're only going to do like one video a week, or like, let's say you're going to record 60 in a year, just release it once a week. Don't do like one week you do two, the next week you do three, the next week you do one, then you skip a week. And like he's like, just put out one a week, or two a week, or three a week, whatever. But the point is you want to be consistent, because what you're doing is you're training the algorithm, and you're also training the viewer that, hey, like example, I drop my podcast on Monday, and the only reason is because I picked Monday to begin with. So now every Monday for the last 3 years I drop a new interview. That's it. It's the only reason. So it's every single Monday. Any of the subscribers know that they're going to get a new episode Monday morning from us on the Kevin and Fred show. And it's the same thing with video tips. You just want to be consistent. You want to pick a very specific time and stay on task with that. And then here's the other thing that I think is important, is no call to action. And I know that might sound silly, but like, yeah, most times no call to action, meaning this is pure value. Like this is just me reminding you. I don't have the stats right in front of me, but I did a presentation on this a couple years ago for a mastermind on recruiting and actually sales copywriting. I want to say it's something like 1 minute of video is as valuable as like a million written words. The thing about video that we have that is so powerful is it allows people in a short period of time to start to feel like they know you. So it helps you with credibility quickly. And you don't need them to watch and hours of video. Like minutes of video is good enough for people to start to feel like they know you, they like you and trust you, or they can decide that you're not their cup of tea. Either way, that's okay. It's actually good when people decide that for about you on video. So we want to be consistent. We want to use video, no call to action. Very rarely. Again, if you're ever curious, like when should I have a call to action? Jab, 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 right hook, just like Gary Vee laid it out in his book. So be consistent, commit to one video a week for a minimum of 52 weeks, like for 1 year. It will work. But most people, and I mean this, like I'll bet you 95% of people, if not more, give up by like video 8 or 10. Like they just don't keep going. This strategy is called the long game for a reason, because it's going to take a long time for it to work, but it's also about long-term results. If you want the strategy that's going to bring you results next month, this ain't it. It's just not it. I don't believe in doing anything that's only good for the next month. I just don't. Like, been in business, like I said, be almost 15 years, and I plan to be in the real estate world for at least 15 more. And there's this balance, of course, in business where we want to do things that provide a return next month, next quarter, next year. And then there's other things that we do that are going to continue to bring a return to us over and over and over again for the remainder of our business career. And this is one of those things. This is just the way I operate. It's just a core belief of mine. So if it's not of yours, it's not going to work for you. You could probably just jump off now. But if you're in this for the long run, then keep listening. Um, so, there's some of you are thinking like, what about the topics? What could I teach on? First of all, if you don't think you have anything to give back to the real estate agent community, you're right. You don't. But if you just need a reminder, when you download the copy of the playbook tomorrow, I'm pretty sure we have a few different topics as an example that you can give in there. And again, just distribution. There's a marketer who has been not just a friend of mine, but like a true mentor. His name is Dean Jackson. If you don't know who Dean is, man, you're missing out if you like marketing. But Dean's got something he calls the moo method, moo, like a cow. Moo stands for multiplied oral output. Now, what that means is if I'm going to take the time to make a video, like I should probably just go ahead and really utilize that video. So on one video, I can put it up on my Facebook page. I can go put it on my YouTube and the InstaFace and Snapgram and all that stuff, right? We can take that one video everywhere, but you can also rip that audio. You could make it a podcast. You could then take that audio and you could have it dictated very easily, or what's the word, transcribed and written down into written blog posts and Facebook posts as well. So what I'm getting at here is if you're going to take the time to create content, multiply the output of that content very simply, and that way you can really reach more people. And so I'll also give you a couple different ways in that playbook that you'll be able to download where you can look for different like people to distribute this to. So not just platforms, but ways to go out and distribute this and get your content in front of other people. And the other thing I'll tell you is like, because most people struggle with this part on video, is that just because people aren't engaging, like they're not liking or sharing or commenting, doesn't mean they're not watching. And so what I'm going to encourage you to do, no, what I'm going to implore you to do is to just not pay any attention to how many likes, comments, shares, etc. you get until you've got 50 or more videos published. If you don't have 50 or more videos published, you have no right to care about the engagement factor, because people are watching. I promise you they're watching. They may not tell you they're watching, but they are. So I'm going to tell you that. Don't worry about that. Again, key concept here is when an agent's gotten more value from you than their current broker or their current team leader, that's the moment that they're ready to go. And if you're the person who's always in their top of their mind when they get pissed off at their broker or they're pissed off at their team leader, you're right there. Like that's the cool thing. Most people, this is the thing that people don't realize. And you guys have had this, you're entrepreneurs. You had this moment. Tell me if you've had this moment, like never again. Like you had a job, you worked in the corporate world, or you just had a situation in your life where you were like, never again, I'm never letting this happen to me. And I'm never going to make under six figures again. I'm never going to be at someone else's disposal again. Like, I'm going to be my own boss from now on. You've had that moment, right? Everybody has that moment. Well, here's the crazy part. When everybody gets to that point. And the good thing is that we have that moment where we realize this is what I don't want. And this is, I'm already kind of going into the psychology part here, which I'll bring up a few more things for you as we go along. But most people don't think about what they do want. They just come to the realization that they're somewhere and they have something that they no longer want. And so what do? They just turn to the next best thing or the next thing in front of them without any true due diligence. Now, if you're a good person, you really provide value, you're that next thing, that can be a very good thing for you. And it can be an extremely valuable strategy for you guys. Sorry, I got to take a drink of water because I'm not used to talking this much. All right. Hopefully you guys are still awake. All right. So now I'm going to move on. So we talked about tipping the scales, right? And starting to give value for leading with value first, right? The next concept I want to talk to you about is resources. One of my favorites is allied resources. I had this moment, this experience in my business back in, I think it was late 2014, where I realized like we had to really scale up our recruiting for the team. And I knew that was my job. And so what I had done is I remember this recruiting class I went to back in 2009, and then again in 2012 and 2012 again and 13. Like, I'm a slow learner, so I kept going. And one of the concepts they taught us in this class was about allied resources. And what do I mean by that? I mean like lenders, title company, pest control, anybody that I give business to. And here's what I did. Some version of this. You can change the script, but I effectively reached out to all my partners being mortgage, title, inspector, you name it. And I said, hey, Greg, first of all, man, I love being in business with you. This is awesome. First of all, I made an appointment with them and I met them at their office for the people that I was in business with. Went to my title officer and I went to the title business development person too. And I said, Greg, I love being in business with you. It's been awesome. Last year we closed, X amount of deals together, and that was so cool. And here's the deal. Going forward, the only way we go from 100 deals to 200 deals together is I need a partner. And I don't need you to write me a check. I don't need you to buy me lunch. I don't need you to print flyers. I need you to introduce me to people. I need you to understand my business and believe in my business at such a high level that anytime you know of somebody who's thinking about making a move, you let me know. And I'm not going to hold you responsible for whether or not they join my team, but I want the at bat. I want the introduction. The rest is on me. And if you can do that, that's how my business at the time was going to go from, it was like, I don't know, 160 deals to almost 400 deals in 1 year. Like, that's actually what we did that year. We went from 160 to 380 transactions the next year. And we did that through scaling through people. And so I just flat out said to him, like, if my business grows, the amount of business I send you, the escrows, the mortgages, the inspections, all those orders, those go up, but they don't go up unless you help me grow. Are we good? Are we on the same page? And I just had that conversation with every one of my vendors or allied partners, allied resources. Secondly, this is the next tip, because I'm sure you all have get phone calls and emails from other business development people who want your business but don't have your business. They want to be that second lender, or they want to be your preferred title company. And I just met with them too. And I just said to them, hey, listen, I appreciate your follow up. Most people don't even follow up more than once or twice. They just send a blanket email, and that's cool. And here's the deal. If we're ever, by the way, I'm really happy with my lender, Greg. He's amazing. And if we're ever going to do one loan together, here's how that goes. And here's what I said, some version of this script. I don't know. It was a long time ago, the first time I said it, but I said, if we're ever going to go from 0 to 1, it's not going to be because I just threw you some deals and I gave you a chance. You're going to earn it. And here's how you're going to earn your chance to get some of my business, and maybe even one day all of my business. You're going to, and then I would give them another version of, I need you to introduce me to people. I need you to learn about my company. So that way, when you know someone that's a good fit, I'm not asking you to recruit them for me. I'm asking for an introduction, and then I will do the rest. And so what I did then, besides the fact I'm putting out content, I'm teaching classes, now I have all these other people that are around the industry that are making introductions to me, to all of, or I should say for me, to all of these people that I might be able to hire at some point. Some of which I hired immediately, some of which they're still in my pipeline and they'll work with me someday. Some of which, got hired a year or two later, partnered with some of these people. Some of the most amazing relationships I have in this business were introduced to me through Allied Resources. And so I just want to give you that as a tip, because I think having that is just so, so important. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the playbook that we have a script, like kind of a more polished script of what I just gave you for that Allied Resource phone call, or it could be a meeting too. I would suggest doing it in person, especially if it's someone you're doing business with already. Do it in person, like look them in the eye. I think that goes a long ways. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to tip the scales. We're going to lead with value. The second thing that we're going to do is that we are also going to use our Allied Resources to help dig up more prospects, right? So we're gonna give value. We're gonna distribute that. We're gonna use the Moo method that Dean Jackson taught me, and that John Cheplack taught me, and all these other people who've taught me about marketing and sales and recruiting. And we're gonna take that and we're gonna multiply our output. And then what we're going to do, we're going to talk to our Allied Resources, and then we're going to practice. We're going to practice. This takes a lot of practice. You're not going to just start doing like recruiting calls and appointments and just be amazing on day one. Like, you're probably going to suck at first. Like, I know probably no one on this call, but for me, I sucked at listings at first. Like, I had to really work at it. Like, I had to really, really work at getting good at listings. And then one day I was good because I worked hard at it for a year, and I sucked and I got better and I learned. And so part of that is like, you actually have to have those at bats. And then when you've got the at bats, you've got the system, you've got the Allied Resources, you've got the funnel of, I'll call them leads, and you really want to like tighten things up and go to the next level. We're going to recruit more effectively by tapping into the psychology of the real estate agents, the people that we're talking to. A buddy of mine, he's kind of a mentor and a friend, Michael Burnoff. He wrote an amazing book called Average Sucks. Can't recommend that enough. He said to me one time, Kevin, he literally said this to me because he was consulting with me and my business partner and a few other recruiters. He said, we've got to get really good at having deep consulting conversations about where people are at in their lives. I'm going to say that again. We have to get really good at having deep consulting conversations about where people are at in their lives. Because that, to me, that's what being a recruiter is. A recruiter is not a salesy salesperson. It's about having a great consulting conversation and then positioning ourselves in a way as a resource to help those people get what they want. That's recruiting to me in my book. Maybe not in yours, but it is in mine. And I'm going to dive into a few other concepts here when it comes to recruiting and why we want to focus on psychology. And that starts again with the consulting conversation. Is we got to find out where people are really at in their life, especially in this business. Like, let's face it, everyone says they're doing good. Like, I'm doing good. No, they're not. Even if they're doing good, no one feels like they're doing good because they could be doing better and they know it, right? So it's critical that we have a psychological conversation, and we help lead people down a path and thought process of where they really want to go. And we need to take the time to understand their motivations and their decision making, so that way we can start to uncover what's missing for them right now. And then once we know what's missing for them, we can help them get that. And when you do that, that's like magic, right? That is absolutely like magic. One of the key mistakes on the psychology side that I see people make is when we ask someone to change teams or change brokerages, join my brokerage. What we got to understand is we're asking people to change, and change is hard. Now, doing something different is not hard. but changing what we do is hard. At least psychologically, subconsciously, it's hard. So it's a lot easier to ask somebody to do something different than it is ask them to change. I know that sounds simple and it may sound surface level. And I'm telling you right now, that's a big deal. That's where a lot of people miss. It's in the scripting and in the subtleties of the conversations. So you got to understand that doing something different doesn't feel as difficult as changing what they do. And when I say that is people think of change as like, I'm going to change brokers. Man, I got to change my signs. I got to change my business cards. I got to change my websites. Change, change, change. We don't want them to change. We want them to do something different because deep down, different feels different than change. All right. The other thing we got to do, remember earlier I talked about never again. All people run on this. They've made a decision at one point in their life, and they made this decision one day, and now they identify as that decision for whatever reason. So for me, in by I'm not bashing on anybody or anything here, but like for me, the decision I made is I was a Keller Williams Realty agent, and my identity was wrapped up in that so much that I couldn't even, for the longest time, couldn't even envision exploring other options because I had made a decision one day. And so we've got to understand that when people make decisions, they are then going to form an identity around those decisions. And that's the thing that we're really trying to change here, or trying to get someone to think of things differently, right? So everyone's got an identity. They've made a decision in the past, they've built themselves around. And so what we're going to do is we're always going to run up against that identity and the resistant to change. People go like, I'm a EXP agent, I'm a KW agent, I'm on team so and so, and well, I'm on team Chris, or I'm on team Levi agent, right? Um, but the reality is like we got to find a way to, it's not even get past that. We got to get around that. We got to be able to tap in around that because that's the key. That's one of the subtle keys. We want to help people stop seeing themselves as certain things and start seeing again where they might want to go. That's why we got to be really good at consulting and understanding where they're trying to go, what their desires are, right? Um, this is another thing is most people, especially in real estate, like everyone talks like we got these goals. Like I want to do this and I want to make 100,000. I want to make 500,000. I want to make 1,000,000. We all say that. And here's the reality. Here's the truth. This is the truth. Most people will never get there because if they started doing the things that they had to do to become the millionaire, to make, to increase their income from 50,000 to 100,000 or 100,000 to 500,000, their identity would change. And that's scary for them. So what they do instead is they cling to the comfort zone of what they know now, because without it, they wouldn't know who they are. So we got to understand that's part of what we're dealing with when we're asking someone to be at a different brokerage or to change their brokerage, right? That's the subtle art of the psychology side of things. Some of you are wondering, cool, that's great. And how do I do that? What are some of the things I can do? Well, we can help people focus on, like, there's ways you can help people focus in on the fact that where they're at, while it might be good to them, is not perfect, right? And their identity that they've built up, while it's good for them and it serves them right now, it's not what they say that they want. And so we can do little things like asking them about what's not perfect about their brokerage, what's not perfect about their business, what would they like to be, what would be nice if it was different, what if they were what is the thing if they were taking advantage of it or doing at a higher level, would their all their dreams and desires start to get met? But we got to get really good at asking those questions. Again, that goes back to consulting, right? And just got to know people are going to resist change. Like they're going to resist something. Again, like I said, they might resist the move that would help them get what they say that they want, but they'd have to admit, this is the biggest thing I think, subconsciously, in order to change brokerages or teams or whatever, um, you have to admit that you're wrong currently about the decision you're making today. You have to subconsciously admit, I'm wrong. And so if someone's got to admit that, if we understand and we're sensitive to the fact that we're asking somebody to admit that they were wrong, we've got to make that a soft landing for them, right? And it's not wrong. because maybe at one time it was right and now it's just not right anymore. That's okay. It was a good idea. It's not a good idea anymore, and that's okay. And now it's time to explore what is a good idea for them and their family and their future. And so understanding these little subtleties on the psychology side of things will make these recruiting conversations just so much easier. So, all right, Chris, Levi, dude, I feel like I just talked for 14 hours straight. I know it was probably only 30 minutes or 20 minutes. Um, but I don't know if we have any time, if we can do some Q&A, great. If not, happy to shut it off, but wanted to at least give a breaking point here for
No,
questions.
it was awesome. The reason why I turned my video off is because in the past, and this was absolutely true today, they get the top of my head as I'm like furiously taking notes down here. So I say it's better to have like something besides the top of my head to look at. Anyways, I thought it was great. I'd love to ask a question to
Yeah.
the folks who are on. First of all, how many of you have thought about building a team before? Just put it in the chat. Even if you've never actually led a team, how many of you have thought about building a team? And while they're answering, Kevin, my question, I think we may have like and I actually had intended to do this when I was introing you. We may have presupposed the idea that, well, people would, of course, they're going to want to build a team, but maybe you could give like a short little reasoning why you decided to build a team and why it's potentially a good model for other agents as well.
Yeah. So I think the best reason for building a team, first of all, let me give the generic answer, then I'll give my answer. I think the best reason probably for building a team is you've created so much business, you can't do everything anymore. So I think that's the number one reason why teams should, I hate to shit on people. I think that's the reasons why teams should be created. Now, the reason why I created a team, I think has a lot to do with my laziness and ambitiousness. So I've got this like this thing, like one shoulder, I got like the good, the devil and the angel, and like one of them is lazy and one of them wants to take over the world, right? And so part of it is like there's just parts of my business I just don't want to do. And so the part of my story that I didn't share is I decided one day, and I say it was a conversation between Fred and I, my business partner, where we drew a line in the sand and we said our income is not going to be dependent upon us sitting in living rooms taking listings. We could do it. I told you earlier I used to suck at taking listings and I got really good at it. So I can do it. I just didn't want my income to depend on that. And so that's why we built a team, is because there was things in the business we didn't want to do. And then as that evolved, I wanted more time. I didn't want my income to depend on me having to go to someone's house on their schedule. And then also, I just wanted to be able to do more. And the way I could do more was to build a business bigger than just my own actions.
I love it. Love it. Derek actually asked another question that was kind of what I was going to ask next. He said, when do you think the right time to start building a team? Maybe you sort of answered that in when you said basically, when you have too much business or whatever. But what did that look like for you in terms of transactions? I see, just my observation from talking to thousands of agents, is a single agent typically plateaus at about 40 to 50 deals a year. And that's like the max they can do without bringing on help, virtual assistant, transaction coordinator, something. And, of course, then the next step might be to build a team. But what was it for you?
Honestly, it was like day one. Truthfully,
Okay.
there was just like I'm not the best example, but the way I looked at it is I wanted to give up money sooner in exchange for my time, in exchange for scale. And so we literally hired people like administrative staff before we could afford it. And I was willing to pay them before I got paid because I was already broke. So like, what did I have to lose? And so I was willing to do that. And then, but I think truthfully, the better answer is like, you're so good at generating business, you can't do it all. That's probably the best time. And I know that's not real, but I would hesitate, Levi, to say there's a number of transactions. And here's why. I'm gonna give you a great example. My business partner, Fred, his first year in real estate was before we started working together. I want to say he did like something like 35 or 37 transactions on his own, no transaction coordinator, like literally all on his own. And he was able to manage that. He's a very organized person, especially compared to me. I'm super unorganized. At probably 15 transactions in a year, I would have lost my mind. And so like that, like having more than one or two going on is just like where my skill set is not there. So building a team for me earlier was necessary. So like for me, my natural ceiling, if you've ever seen like people's natural ceilings, or like been taught about that, seen those models is probably a lot less, like 15 transactions a year, maybe 20, right? Maybe 20. Because I can focus a little bit on doing some of that stuff. Whereas other people could do like 35 or 50. I know people that do 50 on their own. And I know people that do 70 with just a transaction coordinator. So I say I think it's different for everyone, and we all have to be aware of. I think here's the other thing I didn't share earlier about leading people and recruiting people. Kind of the first thing you have to do is figure out yourself. Like you actually have to know yourself first. And I think that's a part that gets overlooked a lot.
So I have two questions from Chris. First question, first of all, he said great session. He's been on as well, listening. We're sitting here learning and taking notes. In fact, just to let everyone know, we didn't bring in Kevin for you guys. We wanted Kevin so that we could have like a one-on-one session, just him and us. Chris asked, what do you do when someone wants to join your team, but they have to wrap up their current clients? And that could take several months. So they're like the never again moment, but they have administrative stuff taking them.
Well, I think the answers are different based on their scenario, right? So let's just assume it's clean, like they're going to have full control over it. I wanted them to join right now, and I don't need to make money off of those deals. I didn't do anything to earn those deals. And so my first, reaction is like, hey, come over and just close those out. No, not a big deal. You were going to do that on your own anyways. Close them out, and I don't need any of the money. If it's a less clean scenario, like they're on another team or at a brokerage that won't let them, then we might have to be more strategic about it. But yeah, man, I don't want to ever be on the sales prevention team, right? So if I can get them over now, great. And I don't feel like I need to make money off of something that they did prior to us working together.
I love that name. I'm totally borrowing sales prevention team because I know so many brokers who are on that team for the agents who are underneath them. I'm going, oh, you're supposed to be helping them do business, not keeping them from doing business.
Yeah.
So the second question that Chris has, and this actually I think is a great question. He asked, how do you make sure your team is worth joining? In other words,
I think
talked about some of the value that you gave and coaching tips and classes and stuff like that. But what was like the number one thing of value that you provide for agents who are joining your team? Is it like, hey, we give out free leads, we teach you how to generate? Well, like, what is it? Is it the tools?
So that's the thing, man. Like that. Here's the deal. What I would say is, I know this wasn't the question, but this is where I'm going to take it at first. When you join a team or brokerage, right, there's a split. It costs a certain amount of money to be there. And I'm a true believer in that split should be in direct proportion to how much value is added back to both parties. So therefore, let's just say I'm on a team, I have a team, and I don't do this, but like, let's just say it's a traditional 50-50 split. Well, I got to be bringing enough value to them for that 50%. And by the way, they got to be bringing enough value to me too, is the way I look at it. So like that is an investment in their business, just like it's an investment in my business. So first of all, I want to start with that context. From there, here's the deal. People look for different things. The thing that I value personally the least are the leads. But some people, like, that's the most important thing. The thing that I value the most is the education and the environment and the community and the support. Not everybody values that at a high level at first. And here's the other thing is some people will come in for the leads. They'll stick around for the culture and the value and this administrative support or the mentorship or so like those things can change over time. So here's what I do know. I'll never recruit to the split. I never recruit to the money, because what I've found and what I've been taught as well is people will leave you for the same reason they came to you. And so money's just not going to be the thing. So if they came to me because they got a better split, the minute they can get a better split somewhere else, they're off. I can't change that. However, if they come to me because of the value, because of the culture, because of the training, that's something I can deliver on forever. And so that's not going to change on my side. They might decide they value something differently. However, that gives me a better chance at having a long-standing relationship.
Excellent. Well, you guys keep writing your questions in the chat. In the meantime, one of the things that we like to do, Kevin, with these sessions is I'm sure we've all been guilty of it at times where we'll like watch an interesting video or participate in a webinar or sit down next to a coach, and it's like super inspiring and interesting. And then we turn it off and we don't do anything about it. So one of the reasons why I asked, some of you raised your hand and said, hey, I've thought about building a team before, and we want to make it, I want to give you a nice little shove in that direction. If it's something you've thought seriously about, one of the things that we like to do is we like to bribe people to take action this week. So my challenge to you, this is a long game. So obviously, the long game is not this week, but one aspect that you'd mentioned today, and it's in the playbook, is that you can do this week is call up your allied resources and basically ask for those referrals, ask for those recruits. So here's my challenge to you. If you can do it this week, if you can call your allied resources, and again, we're going to put the playbook. In fact, I'll post the link to the playbook in the chat, but we're going to put it next to the replay as well. So you'll have the script and everything. If you can do it this week, I want you to email me, support@guerrillarealty.com. We could, if you want, Kevin, if you want to collect, they can email you if you'd rather do that. But either way, if you email me, I'm going to give you coffee on me. I'm gonna send you a $5 Starbucks gift card. That's my little bribe to get you guys to jump into it and take action this week.
Dude, I love that, and I'll go one better on top of that. Whoever emails you follows up on it, and then wants to have a conversation for 15 or 20 minutes over Zoom or a phone call about the next steps. I will give my time for that.
So now you get coffee and Kevin. That's the bribe.
But you actually have to take action. So like Levi's going to get all the emails. He's gonna give them coffee, and then you're gonna come back and like say, hey, I didn't just say I was gonna do this, I completed it. And then Levi, if you'll give me that list of who comes back to you, we'll go from there.
Done. Awesome. I appreciate it. So any other questions for Kevin before he goes? We got time for maybe one or two here. Either we might have a shy group today, Kevin. There wasn't a ton of.
It's either that or dude, I'm not a very dynamic speaker, so there's always that. Like, awesome, it could be asleep.
I felt at one point I was like in a therapy session when you start talking about identities being wrapped up in like the decisions that we make. I was like, well, you could solve real. You could solve the polarization problem in this country.
1000%. Not to get too philosophical on it, but like there's a philosopher I follow. His name is Naval Ravikant. He's actually like a tech. He's probably a billionaire. But like he's one of the things that he's taught me is like if you really want to find peace, you have to rid yourself of identities.
Yeah.
Which is really hard for me as the guy wearing the LA Dodger hat right now. And you know what I mean? Like, and Lakers, and like, so like we hold on to our identities really quick. My buddy Michael Burnoff, who I referenced earlier, like now he taught me that he uses that to help people get unstuck. He's like Tony Robbins, is what he does for professionally. But what he's helped me to leverage that for recruiting purposes, right? And the same thing is true, like pretty much everywhere else in life. You normally when we find ourselves offended or something, it's because we're clinging to an identity of something. I'm a this or I'm a that.
100% agree. I'd never thought of it in those terms before.
I'm a Republican. I'm a Democrat. I'm a conservative. You know what I mean? It's like we have these identities, and so they make these. That means we're just so much more apt to. So when we understand that, I'm saying that not to get philosophical, not to get political, but when we understand the subtleties just about the way the human minds work, from a purely business standpoint, what we can use that for to help people move forward, thus helping our business move forward, dude, limits come off.
Awesome. Well, we got one more question, and we'll end it after this one. But I think this is an awesome question. I appreciate it. This is from Brenda. She says, "I'm a mentor for my brokerage and thought about starting a team. How do I approach my broker about it?"
I think having an open and honest conversation with your broker about what it is you really want is probably the best way to start. And here's the deal. Here's the way I look at it is, number one, if you have a commitment that you've made, you got to uphold that, right? So if you said you're going to help certain people or do certain things, cool. I'm going to do that. And this is what I'm working towards. And I want to know if you'll support me in that. And if they don't, cool. Now you know that you're at the wrong place. No big deal. That's it. Don't have your identity wrapped up in being the mentor for that broker. I'd rather have the identity wrapped up in myself wrapped up in the identity that I help other agents move their business forward.
I love that. Yeah, that was my initial thought when she asked that question. I thought, well, some brokers, that's like built in. They want you to build a team like from the beginning. Not to make this a recruiting pitch for some of those companies, but that is
some of the
part of their business model.
For sure. Some of the more old school companies, like they genuinely don't want teams, and that's okay. But there are plenty of brokerages out there that don't just accept teams. Like they encourage it and they teach about it, right? They want to help you do that.
Well, awesome. I appreciate so much your time, Kevin. We're going to be lucky to have you back. I don't know exactly when on the schedule. I think it might be in a couple of months or something. But
I think so, yeah.
And like I said, the bribe is on, you guys. You get coffee and you get Kevin. All you got to do is email me, support@guerrillarealty.com, that you have completed and you have reached out to your allied resources with that script and gotten them to start sending you. Again, whether or not they've done it yet doesn't matter. All I want you to do is reach out to the resources and you've asked them for the referrals, if that makes sense. So that's something you can accomplish this week. And as soon as you send me an email, you get the gift card and I'll get you over to Kevin and you can pick his brain.
Right on. All right, man. Thanks a lot for having me today.
Absolutely. You were awesome. We'll see you guys next week, Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Appreciate you.
Take it easy, guys.